automatic
It's none of their business. It's none of their business what kind
So
of gun
back
I
in the
own.
1930s when they outlawed Tommy
Give them
guns,
the money, and they won't have anything over you anymore.
One down our throat. And how about worldwide gun control?
Jurisdictions who swore an oath to do just that.
In a federal constitution, you would expect them to disobey that order. How would that work?
That's correct.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of the Sherriff Mack Show on Brighteon TV, simulcast with Liberty Roundtable Live Radio on Brighteon Radio, on Loving Liberty Networks, and really all over the globe via podcast and archives after the fact. Right now, though, we need to get to our guest, Mr. Mike Cartwright. He's a former retired sheriff's deputy. And he's been involved in some very interesting work lately. He is CSPOA Florida, him and Bill and several others. Just a great guy. Mike, welcome to the Sheriff Mack Show, sir.
The free state of Florida. Happy to join you. Thank you for having me.
All right. There's
Mike
so
and
much
I
to
know
cover
each other
in
very
so
well.
little
We just
time.
saw each other when I was in Florida, Sam, and he was a host of a couple of the meetings that we had there.
Yes, we
Yes,
had
indeed.
the Save America conference, and Richard Mack was our featured speaker. We had great attendance and a great event.
All right. We've got two topics we want to talk about. Both of them has to do with saving the country, Mike.
Yes, if you could get Hunter to take a look at slide number 2, we're going to be talking to you first about Save America from Illegal Immigration and our website, saveamericaFromIllegalImmigration.com. Thank you. It's a great opportunity to share. We all know that one of the greatest challenges facing our nation, and also a campaign platform for particularly the conservative candidate in the presidential race, is the border crisis. And what I do want to point out is that this border crisis is not just where you guys are at along the southwest border. It's a 50-state border crisis. So I hope that we can cover as much of this as possible during that time.
Yep. So you've got a whole slideshow put together that you're going to kind of break this thing down for folks. There's a lot of questions about this. How do we handle this? How do we shut the border to illegal trafficking? How do we basically use the 287G program? Let's drill into it straight away, Mike.
Well, thank you. If we'll look at number 7, illegal immigration is a crime. What part of illegal do they don't understand? Yes, Richard and I and you, we often refer to the Constitution, particularly the Bill of Rights and 10th Amendment, states' rights. So we have to be cognizant of that. And I have been doing a lot of praying. I refer to Acts 5:29. We must obey God rather than man. And right now we just have a bad maladministration that is trying to steal the vote, amongst many other things, destroying the fabric of our country. So the Save America from Illegal Immigration program that we have is an awareness to try and make sure that all the citizens, and particularly the voters, know that they have a lot more answers and opportunity to make a difference, rather than just waiting on some politicians in Washington, D.C., or maybe in their state capital, because we're trying to make them all aware that their sheriffs have a constitutional right to help make a difference. And one of the programs is the ICE 287G program. ICE 287G, ICE, Immigration Customs Enforcement. I want to try and talk to you about this program. Can I tell you some more?
Please. Yep. Tell us all about it.
Yeah, so you guys know a lot about it, but basically it's a federal program to deport illegal aliens. These illegal aliens will first break the law coming across our border. Whether they register and receive all of their taxpayer-funded benefits or they are a gotaway, it's still illegal. So then now they are being shipped off, particularly to red districts quite often, that they are trying to take areas where conservative and constitutional values are foremost, and they're trying to steal the vote right from underneath our nose by putting these people in there, trying to set them up to possibly be able to vote, and whether it's legally or not. And what we're trying to do is make awareness that it's your sheriffs that can make a difference in this program. So you don't have to wait for Washington or your state capital. You can get your county sheriff by accountability and transparency. You can go to the ICE website, ice.gov, and you can click and check on your local state and see if your sheriff is enforcing this ICE 28G program. And basically what it is being eligible once you signed a memorandum of agreement, MOA, memorandum of agreement. It's much like a contract, or it's an agreement at least, and we're trying to see if there's any kind of feasance or a breach of contract. But basically, the federal government will pay your sheriff an additional $50 a day to hold them up to 48 hours so that ICE can come and pick them up and deport them. Strike one, if a legal alien come across the border, they're a criminal. Strike two, now they're in your county jail. Well, guess what? Strike three, shame on us if we're not letting our sheriff be empowered to stop the revolving door policy of catch and release of illegal aliens back into our community. And I want to make sure I emphasize that. Stop the revolving door policy of the catch and release of illegal aliens back into our community. Your sheriff can help us with that. And I'm sure that Richard will say that that helps better empower the sheriffs.
Yeah, it does, and more than a constitutional right, that you mentioned, I think maybe you used the wrong term. It's a constitutional obligation and responsibility that the sheriffs take hold of this, because once the federal government has proved to everyone that they will not do their job and that they're playing politics actually with the illegal immigration that's destroying our country, once we know that they have committed this type of treason to the American people and they do not care about national security because they have an agenda in mind, a political agenda in getting these people onto the voter rolls across America, to where no matter what the Democrats do, they will be protected by judges and other Democrats all across the country so that they can get away with this. And it's really the biggest disaster and devastation that we've ever had as a country, because our own politicians, our own leaders are doing this intentionally. And so, yes, it is up to the sheriffs and the states to enforce these rules. And as you point out, 287G, this is absolutely vital that we get moving on this.
All right, so I have a few questions for everybody about this. Save America from illegalimmigration.com. I know that's a little bit of a long domain, but it's simple. Save America from illegalimmigration.com is the website to learn more and to get involved. And so the 287G program is a federal program. Is that right?
Yes, it is, but it's your local sheriffs that can use it. And again, they will pay $50 a day up to 48 hours to hold the illegal alien. What happens is that in your local system, your sheriff would not only run uniform patrol, but would also run the jail and the courts. And what we want to do is stop that revolving door policy of the catch and release, putting them back into the community. An ounce of prevention is worth a ton of cure. So I created a map. I'm going to refer to someone else's map, Hunter number 4. If you look at number 4, we'll see that there's over 3,000 sheriff's offices throughout our county, throughout our nation. There's over 3,000 counties. There's over 3,000 sheriffs, and each one of them have a unique responsibility. And you'll see that these areas that are plotted out, there's only approximately 130, less than 0.01% of these sheriffs throughout our nation that are enforcing 287G. Now, you would think that this would be very prevalent throughout the Southwest region where you guys are at there in Utah and Texas, but unfortunately it's not. We're seeing these districts turn purple and blue. And doesn't matter, red or blue, two sides of the same bad coin. It's just that, what part of illegal do they not understand? What part are they not doing to enforce these laws? This map shows you that Florida leads the nation in that over 70% of their counties are enforcing 287G. Great, good job, free state of Florida. But we still have 20 counties that are not. Those are run by liberal socialist officers, or it could be that ICE is delaying their application, because that's what I'm learning, that the POTUS maladministration is trying to defeat us internally. It's not just that the border crisis is right there along the southwest border. They're even doing it internally and trying to stop these sheriffs from deporting. And when I talk about the border crisis, is more than just the 7 border states there in the southwest where you're at. Here in Florida, we've got people coming into the beaches right there on the boats. In fact, at the Dry Tortugas, they had to shut down on National Park during the initial wave of illegal immigrants coming here. There's been a crisis in Haiti, and for months they had National Park shut down as a staging area for the Coast Guard to process these people. And what happens in American waters, it's very difficult to just tell people to go back 90 miles across the Straits of Florida, wherever they come, because oftentimes they're on their last leg. They are running out of food, running out of water. They're in a dangerous situation. And it turns into a rescue. And then what happens is that they start to get registered. And we need to deter this, and we need to get our sheriffs help protecting us with this.
I understand. So the 287G program is a federal program, but it can be used by the local sheriffs to deal with illegal immigration. Can you please share some specific examples of how sheriffs are dealing with this program? Are they using it? What's the relationship between the sheriffs and the federal government? The reason I ask this question is because the federal government's been hostile to the state of Arizona and to the state of Texas when they've tried to basically stop the illegal immigration at their borders and take advantage of this. And they've had nothing but lawsuits and fights from Joe Biden and the administration. So I'm kind of wondering how this 287G is changing the game. Are the sheriffs finding it acceptable, easily understandable, and getting support from the feds on this? Tell me about the relationship and examples of how well it's working. Will you please, Mike?
Well, it's not working well. I brag about the state of Florida, and it's still not perfect. I give example of where you're at, Sam, there in Utah. You have 29 counties, and this many of those 29 counties are using the ICE 287G program, 0. And let me explain that. Richard has already heard from me because I did the data mining, and he's well aware of his own situation there in Arizona. They have 15 counties. Well, you would think in a border state that all 15 counties would be using this ICE 287G program. No, they're not. Only 5 of the 15 counties are currently enrolled in the ICE 287G program. Now, that doesn't mean that each one of those sheriffs are bad, because it could be that some of their applications are being delayed. But that's where this program is, to try and educate so we can have accountability and transparency, so you can know whether your sheriff is or is not supporting this program to stop the catch and release of the illegal aliens back into our community. You mentioned Texas. Texas has 256 counties, and you would think the border state of Texas and the great Governor Abbott there, who has state troops faced off against federal troops and trying to build the wall and founding his hill that he is willing to die on, and planting the flag and saying this is America and it's illegal. Only 26 of the 256 counties in Texas, that's 10%, only 10% are enforcing 287G currently, less than 10%. Florida is turning from conservative Texas is turning from red to purple to blue, from having conservative and constitutional values to liberal socialist values. And again, Florida leads the nation. It's much like a tollhold. We're out here in a unique position, being in the southeast corner, and on a peninsula. So maybe we're highly favored because of the geographical situation. God bless you guys right there on the border. That's where it seems to be most acute. But what we're trying to do is make sure that all 50 states inform their citizens and their voters to check with their sheriff and see, are they enrolled in the ICE 287G program. I wanted to make sure that, for instance, in case you guys didn't know it, they're in Arizona. The only counties that are enforcing this, in fact, if we could get Hunter to go to map number 5, Hunter, map number 5, you can see, and if you focus towards Utah, that their DOC is using the program. La Paz County is using it. Mesa County, Pedal County, and I hope I pronounce this right, Yavapai County. But
Yeah. So this is in Arizona, though, right?
Yes, sir. Arizona, as you can see, there in Arizona, there is much like a constitutional area that is red, and those red counties denote that geographical area in Arizona where those sheriffs are doing a good job and they are enforcing 287G. But if you look at the remaining balance of the 70% of the Arizona states, they are blue. They are not enforcing it. Right next door to the east there is Utah. You see it's all blue. They're not enforcing it. Moving further to the east, we're looking at Texas. 256 counties. You can see the red counties. Those are the ones that are enforcing it. If we go to slide number 6, we can see that Florida still a foothold where we want to turn back the tide and take America back, has 70%. That's 47 of these counties are enforcing it, but those 20 that are listed, those that are listed on the website now, are not enforcing it. We're trying to educate the voters here. We're in another unique situation. We have 2 Florida residents. Both wanted to be the president. One was the 45th president, and the other one wants to be the 47th president also. So we have some really great competition. That's healthy, and we're trying to make sure that our law, Florida Statute 908.11, is enforced, which basically states that since January of 2023, all 67 counties are supposed to have already been enforcing their law, and they're not. We're trying to raise a public awareness so that those counties that are not using this may be subject to possible defunding, because, or at least if their sheriffs come back up for vote, that the voters know that their sheriff is not enforcing that law. There's a misperception oftentimes, well, it's the law and the government, and our sheriff is often do the best job. Well, you know what? That's what CSPOA is about, is recognizing that there are good sheriffs, okay? But there's other law enforcement people that could do their job a whole lot better. So it's up to us, we the people, to help educate them about, who are the sheriffs, who are the chiefs of police, who are the mayors that could do a lot better job of protecting their city and their community. That's why we're seeing what used to be liberal socialist cities and counties now pushing back and saying, stop the sanctuaries. Chicago and New York City, the people are now realizing this is not safe, this is not healthy, and so there's a pushback.
Amen to that. You have 3 general initiatives that you want we the people to work hard to focus on and to work on solving these problems, right?
Well, 3 initiatives. I'm trying to, yes. One, we're looking at, are the sheriffs that are in the program, the red counties, are they getting 100% benefit and cooperation from the ICE program? Is that what is happening? The other counties that are blue that do not have it, are their applications, if they even applied, are they being properly processed in a timely manner? Or is the Biden administration not only creating a logjam or a problem along the southwest border, are they also doing it in-house? And the other program is, again, this part about awareness, of making sure that the voters know whether your sheriff is or is not enrolled in that program. And if he says he is, but it just hasn't been processed, then make the FOIA request. Make him show you that application. Look for that recent date. This program has been around since 2018. So if you weren't already in this program, then shame on you, Sheriff. And there's been a recent push, particularly here in the state of Florida. Our governor formed a coalition. He's reinvigorated this charge to sign up to 287G, and he's encouraging other sheriffs throughout our nation to also do this.
And that's good news for sure. We need to shut the border down to this human trafficking debacle and then increase interior support for doing the same, right?
Yes, sir. Come on, Richard, help me out here.
And then
Well,
we
yeah,
got two.
no kidding. I was amazed to see the state of Arizona because it did not appear that even Sheriff Daniels in Cochise County, which is right on the border, and he's on the news on Fox a lot. I thought he would be the first one in Arizona to be enforcing this and using this as a tool, because he probably needs it as much as or more than anybody in the entire state of Arizona, and probably along the border, he's in the top 20 of all the counties that need it. So I'm really surprised that Sheriff Daniels isn't on that. Wow.
And that's what a concern is ICE being delayed? Is the Biden maladministration, are they intentionally delaying these applications? And if so,
well, that would be logical for him and in line with what he has done. So maybe that's the case, because but if Yavapai County, which is north of Phoenix, if they're doing it, I still question why Cochise County, that's right on the border, is not doing it. So,
and what I would offer, go ahead, Sam.
I was just going to say, we got to remember, one, we need to shut the border to the human trafficking and interior of the country. We need to do the same. So domestically, deal with the criminals that are already here. We also need to encourage the facilitation of the 287G program. We got to really ask our sheriffs about it. We got to get involved. We got to do FOIA requests to ensure that they've really, if he says they're part of it, that he's really got documents showing that he really is. And then we got to double down. It's one thing to sign up for it. It's another thing to actually actively carry it out. We, the people, can be the vanguards to make sure that happens. And then three, we need to encourage and facilitate American counties to be sanctuaries for not illegals, but for the Bill of Rights, Mike.
Yes, and I've tried to make sure that we get the nomenclature right on that, often more instead referring to those constitutional and conservative counties, it's constitutional, because it's just amazing how people will make a play on the words and proclaim that they're constitutional and conservative, and they're not. I want to make sure that when you give me a chance, as we end up, that we take another look at slide 2, because it looks like maybe we're winding towards our time, so I can make sure we give one more plug to help educate your viewers. And I really do appreciate the opportunity to allow me to share. Please take a look at that website, saveamericafromillegalimmigration.com. There's all kinds of great information there and links that will forward you, particularly to the ICE website, ice.gov, where you click on the ICE 287G program, and quarterly they update this list of the counties that are enforcing this law or not. And we've also created a resolution that you can click on there and download it. And that one particularly is wrote up for the state of Florida, where you can go to your local club, particularly what we did here in Florida. We took it to the REC, the REC, the Republican Executive Committee. We had a vote that passed unanimously. Let me say that again, unanimously, where our REC voted to have our sheriff to finally enforce this law. We've seen that he's flip-flopped on the issue. We see that he is moderate. We're trying to make sure that we get a better sheriff here. And that's why I want to make sure that the sheriffs are held accountable and that there is transparency. And that's why one of the first ways you can do to check and see if you have a conservative constitutional sheriff is look at that website, look at ICE 287G, and see if they're listed or not. And if they're not listed, then ask the sheriff, have you applied, and is your application being delayed? So please take a look at that website, saveamericafromillegalimmigration.com.
And the final thing I want to say on this topic, ladies and gentlemen, is listen, we want to just act like Joe Biden needs to solve this. And I agree the general government has appropriate responsibility for the border delegated via the Constitution. He's derelict in his duty. And states are trying to push back. Texas and Arizona and Florida are three of the biggest states fighting back on this. But you know what? Like I always say, the sheriff gets his authority from his election and his swearing in. He gets his power from we the people. So we need to use our greater numbers, Mike, and really push the sheriffs to do this. Okay, we can support the resolution to fight the border crisis. You can do so by going to the website. You can tell your representatives and especially your sheriffs that, hey, 15 million illegals in the country is absolutely unacceptable. We're not doing that. Save America from illegalimmigration.com. Final comment before we switch topics to you, Sherriff Mack.
Well, I think this is a great work that Mike's been doing for quite a while now, and it, I was unaware of 287G, so I really appreciate him bringing this to us all. And thanks so much for being with us today, Mike. Appreciate the work you're doing.
And
Well,
the
thank you
question
for letting
to
me
us
share this
was
with
for people
CSPOA.
to say, hey, you know what? The 287G, a lot of people will say, hey, is it working well enough? And the answer is it's not. But the reason that it's not, Mike, and this is the final comment from you on this topic, the reason that it's not, I submit to you, is that there's not enough people that understand it and demand it. And so they're able to just ignore it with impunity. And if we, the people, use our greater numbers and we understand it and we demand that they use it, things will change, Mike. Until then, they won't.
Yes, sir. And that's what this program, what a great opportunity to help educate the citizens and the voter to help stop the catch and release of illegal aliens back in our community. I want to thank you, Mr. Sam Bushman, and also you, Richard Mack, and CSPOA for giving us this platform, this venue to share and better educate the people. Let's not wait for Washington, D.C., for our state capital. Let's hold our local officials accountable for the safety of our communities.
You have the radio version and the TV version as well. Spread the word, share it with your friends. But I don't think we would expect anything different from the courts. They've rejected everything that has to do with election integrity, and they're on the same trajectory all the way to the Supreme Court now. Headline says, quote, rejected. Kari Lake's lawsuit will not make it to the Supreme Court. SCOTUS dismisses suit without comment. Sheriff, you want to comment on that?
Yeah, well, that was some of our discussion in Las Vegas last Wednesday, and Mark Fincham, who was part of that lawsuit, spoke and mentioned talked about his lawsuit going with Kari Lake. I thought that just kind of like what they said, and Mike Lindell also, sooner or later, somebody's going to have to step up, and the courts are going to have to address this. I guess Lindell's lawsuit, though, is still going. So this is really a setback and kind of a slap in the face, because when they say nothing, it means they're playing games and politics with it. And so it's really, I believe, something that the Supreme Court just simply did not have the courage to address, because it's too politically hot. And I'm ashamed of them for that.
The good news is, amen to that. The good news is we're continuing the fight. And like I say, the same issue with the illegal immigration is the same issue with election integrity, which is the same issue with our next topic, which we'll get into in just a second. And that is, there's not enough Americans engaged, Sheriff. They're too busy with, beer busts and, TV shows and entertainment and blood and bread and circus and all that kind of stuff. And until we, the people, start demanding change, we're going to get what we've been getting. That's for sure. We got to save America, not only from illegal immigration, not only from election integrity problems, but we need to save America from the U.S. Capitol Police. Save America from uscapitalpolice.com is the website, and Mike Cartwright is ready to discuss this in detail as well. And I really want to highlight, this is something important, because Stuart Rhodes went to prison, I believe wrongfully. Many people went to prison. We find out all kinds of facts after they go to prison that they withheld exculpatory evidence to get these convictions. And there's a lot of information saying a lot of these convictions are going to be overturned. They're trying to lie and tie me to January 6th because I interviewed Stuart Rhodes the day before. And then I interviewed Vicky White 2 days after. I couldn't interview her the day of because they shut down all communications. Nevertheless, I've been really a journalist, a broadcast journalist at the tip of the spear on this thing. And now they're trying to attack me for my journalistic efforts. So, folks, we have to save America from the U.S. Capitol Police. Mike?
Hey, thank you. If you could get Hunter to look at slide number 28, Save America from U.S. Capitol Police. That's the name of the campaign. That's the name of the website, saveamericafromuscapitolpolice.com. What a great opportunity to share with you today. We have a message and a campaign here from the free state of Florida where they have set up a FOB, a forward operating base. I guess the federal government decided that it's better to ask forgiveness than it is to ask permission. Violated our states' rights, 10th Amendment, and they have set up a forward operating base here in Tampa, Hillsborough County, Florida. They also, at the same time, approximately a year ago, set up another office simultaneously in San Francisco, where the Speaker of the House was at that time, Nancy Pelosi. And I would offer that if the Capitol Police couldn't protect Mr. Pelosi in his own home, then what good are they doing over there? That's the name of our website, Save America from U.S. Capitol Police. So the Capitol Police has a lot of great rank and file. I really do respect law enforcement. I back the blue. But the federal government has started this program of overreach, and now with over 75 federal law enforcement agencies. How many more federal law enforcement agencies do we need?
And many of them have gone on record lying, saying that the dossier about Donald Trump was accurate and true, and it turned out to be a lie, and they backed it. They also basically jettisoned the Hunter Biden story, knowing full well that it was true, but they spiked it on purpose. They've tampered in elections. And what's fascinating is if you go study the U.S. Capitol Police, they used to be just a tiny group. But now they've expanded. They're increasing funding. They're literally acting all over the United States. This is a government agency absolutely violating its mandate, violating its appropriate constitutional delegation. And it's turned into absolutely a behemoth. I mean, I don't know which is worse, the FBI, the CIA, or the Capitol Police, but they're all in bed together to make life pure hell for the American citizen, Mike.
Yes, they are. And the Capitol Police has, again, a lot of rank and file. They've got a long history. A lot of people don't know. I believe it was 1800 when the office of the Capitol was moved from Philadelphia to Washington, D.C., and they started out with one lone night watchman. And now, here in the next few years, they're trying to double their budget and double their manpower. And they only have jurisdiction within the 2-mile continuous area surrounding the Capitol building there in the District of Columbia. And there's a lot of things that we need to point out about how this directly affects you, because now with these forward operating bases they're setting up, they're not just investigating latent, the J6 so-called political people that went there to exercise their First Amendment rights. And I need to make sure that I put a disclaimer here on the front end. I was a police officer for 21 years, and I backed the blue. And if you hurt the police, if you damage property, if you knowingly went into the wrong area, then you deserve a fair and speedy trial and all the information you need to prove you're innocent. But when the judge says you're guilty, you're guilty. So, that's a whole other situation. But half of that was a false flag operation where it looks like the federal government had black hats, bad operators that set us up for failure. We're supposed to be able.
Yeah, we had a guy named Casey Cusick that testified at our press conference last Wednesday, and he highlighted that, in cross-examination, his defense basically asked, did he break this law, break this law, break this law? And the answer was no, 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 no. At the end, he didn't break any laws. But what the judge said was, you were a drip in the flood that day. In other words, you're guilty of nothing, but because you were there,
That's
you're
amazing.
guilty. And he went to prison for 10 days over it, ladies and gentlemen. Sheriff?
Just amazing. But overall, we're looking at a federal government under the Obama administration and the Clinton administration and the Biden administration that literally supports government murder. And I hate to say that, but it's absolutely true. If you look back, remember, Mike, the Elian Gonzalez situation where the federal government sent him troops and took him away from the home, and they had machine guns pointing in the face of this little boy and others there. They simply could have knocked on the door or asked the sheriff to go get him, but no, they do. Every one of that SWAT team were given medals of valor. Medals of valor. There was nothing courageous or valorous about it. It was ridiculous. Then the 6 U.S. Marshals in Ruby Ridge, Idaho, they were all given medals of valor, and one of them posthumously, who got shot during the exchange, they literally shot in the back and riddled a boy and a dog with machine guns. And a Sam Weaver was shot in the back and killed. And he was 13 years old at the time, but he looked about 9 because he's very small for his age. Those 6 U.S. Marshals were given medals of valor. And then now we have the Capitol Police officer who shot someone for trespassing, and Ashley Babbitt was shot and killed, and he was promoted. He was never brought to justice. And if that was a legitimate shooting, and you and I both know of our law enforcement experience, that shooting someone for trespassing, that's not a justified shooting. She was not armed.
The penalty is a little.
He never saw
than the
that, and he
crime there,
cries.
Sheriff.
Well, yeah, and he cried that he feared for his safety because of her, and that was just a lie, and that was a fabrication, and yet he's promoted. And it seems like just about everybody in government, maybe Waco is still another example, that they're never brought to justice. There's no accountability, but they even promote these types of murders. And we literally have a government that has promoted murder. Astonishing.
Amen to that. All right, Mike, you have a petition that people can sign to try to gain ground for this effort to stop the Capitol Police from their abuses. They've literally turned into judge, jury, and executioner, haven't they?
Yes, and it's important we point out, Hunter, slide number 12, and then we'll go to 13, 12 and 13, Freedom of Information Act. The Capitol Police, I want to make sure that you and all the viewers know that the legislative branch is not subject to FOIA, Freedom of Information Act. Ever since its inception in 1966, this is a way for us to have accountability and transparency of our government official. Guess what? The U.S. Capitol Police is not subject to FOIA, public records requests, because they're underneath the FOIA Act and underneath the Capitol Police. So if you look also at number 13, you can see redacted public records. And that's the point I want to make to you, that this forward operating base extension now is expanding throughout the United States. It's gone from Tampa and San Francisco. Now they have set up an office in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and Boston, Massachusetts, and an unknown disclosed location in Texas, where we're still trying to find that. And what happens is that you need to make note of this very important point: multi-jurisdictional task force. Well, you guys know what that is. Well, let's make sure that the viewers know what that is. Multi-jurisdictional task force. That's when, under the umbrella of the auspices of an organization such as the Capitol Police, execution of warrants is carried out. Much like you mentioned SWAT, Special Weapons and Tactics, the president, the 45th president of the United States, at his home in Mar-a-Lago was swatted. I want to ask your viewers or anybody else, where do you think that the exception is that you may not also one day be swatted if you exercise your First Amendment? If they can do that to the president right here at his Mar-a-Lago home in Florida, then who else is not? And what happens is that underneath the multi-jurisdictional task force, that any of the assisting agencies, such as your local sheriff's office, such as your local police, some of those local and state agencies, if the Capitol Police and the assisting federal agencies, DOJ and FBI and all the other alphabets, mandate do not give a public records release, well, now you don't have the accountability of your local sheriff and your local police, because if they operate underneath that umbrella, and you are already aware, as you mentioned, Ruby Ridge, and we all know about the event there long ago in Texas, that some of these things go sideways and some of the times they go wrong. We're already seeing that some of these J6 political prisoners there, that when they go to execute these warrants at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, and maybe they're making that cursory knock on the door, it's the police, we have a warrant, and then they're banging through the door and they're throwing in the flash bags, and you and I wake up at that time in the morning and we're thinking about, I'm being broken into. And these people have been executed. Are they defending themselves? Do they know it's the police or not? Or are they giving them fair warning? That's why Richard gave a really good example that a constitutional sheriff may want to protect life and property and may be more interested in the safety and security of his constituents than what we're seeing with this federal government overreach. The multi-jurisdictional task force is where now these other agencies are called in to support these actions, and many of these sheriffs and chiefs of police are having a hard time saying no, and they shouldn't, because they don't want to. They want to continue to receive that free military surplus. There's a lot of military equipment that is given to law enforcement. That's why you see the armored personnel.
Go ahead and stop that. You can go ahead and stop that, Hunter. All right, keep going. All right.
Keep going, Mike. Damn, it's frozen.
The multi-jurisdictional task force, it takes away the accountability and transparency, because if your local sheriff and your chief of police are going to be told that because they're part of this task force and they're not going to be able to get the FOIA, Freedom of Information Act, public records, then there's a problem there about the safety and security of your constituents.
Yeah, for sure.
There you have it. There's so much to this, ladies and gentlemen. But no matter what the issue, I submit to you that without the numbers from the American people getting engaged in this, government literally is continuing to run amok. They have found out that they can seize power, that they can literally violate the checks and balances that made America great, that they can literally thumb their nose at the people and that they're above the law. And unless we, the people, in our greater numbers demand accountability, nothing's going to change. So, for example, there's this headline about January the 6th and about saying, hey, a lot of these cases are going to be overturned. Bill Barr reverses course. And we're starting to see that, hey, they're going to have a sea change on this thing. We're going to have a shocking twist of irony. Bill Barr came out in support of Trump. And so we're starting to realize that, you know what? People are starting to get the truth now that the other side of the January 6th story is being told. And so I really think that we, the people, need to press our advantage. Sign the petition. Save America from illegal immigration. Save America from the U.S. Capitol Police. These are two initiatives that we, the people, can get involved in. And a lot of people are like, man, I feel like I'm just enfranchised. There's nothing that I can do. Don't fall for that lie. They're still afraid of we, the people, in our greater numbers, Mike.
There sure is. And I appreciate the opportunity. If Hunter will take a look at slide 14, we will see that the Capitol Police is trying to increase their budget, increase their manpower, and increase their federal government overreach. That's number 14. If you look at 14, we can see a graph. We can see how they're trying to increase their budget. And
He said he doesn't have 14. He said he didn't have 14.
doesn't have 14. Well, they're trying to increase their budget. We talked about the multi-jurisdictional task force. What I want to point out on our website, Save America from USCapitolPolice.com, there's a petition there. And if you want to take that to your rec or to your local organization and have a vote on that and get that passed, you can send that to your governor. We did that here in Florida at our Hillsborough County Tampa rec, and it passed unanimously. Let me say that again, unanimously. And that was to petition our local sheriff, who is, against our wishes, allowed the Capitol Police to set up an office here, not only in our city and county, but on Sheriff's Office property. Let me repeat that. The U.S. Capitol Police has set up a office on the sheriff's property where I used to work, and they don't want that disclosed because they don't put on their website. That's at 2224 North Falkenberg Road, Tampa, Florida. Let me repeat that for your viewers. 2224 Tampa, Florida. Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office property has a U.S. Capitol Police on there, and we believe that's a violation of our rights as citizens, as a county, and also the state of Florida.
Yeah, because the
Just a little bit outside their jurisdiction.
The Constitution designates what the general government can have land for based on the permission of the state, etc. And that's a violation. There is nothing delegated in that enumerated list that would justify such action. What they're trying to do is make all police force national. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to jettison your local county sheriff, your local police of any kind, your state police or whatever, and they want federales, I guess is what I would say, literally across the country with unlimited power and no checks and balances, Mike. That's what they're going for. And if we want to save America from the U.S. Capitol Police, we got to save America from federal law enforcement altogether, Mike.
Yeah, Richard had something. Go ahead, Richard.
No, I was just agreeing with that. It was absolutely ridiculous that they think that their jurisdiction would extend to Florida or any place outside Washington, D.C. And I question doubling. Good grief. That's just a farce, but they never let a good crisis go to waste. And so, of course, they're going to try to double their budget because of what happened on January 6th, 3 years ago. This is just government at its worst. And this is run amok government.
Run amok, for sure. Mike, final statement. We're about out of time, sir.
So the multi-jurisdictional task force, execution of these warrants or service, sometimes things go bad. Sometimes things go sideways. So about FOIA and the accountability and transparency, if your police chief and sheriff is going to hide underneath this umbrella of the FOIA, of the legislative branch, we have a problem. If there is use of force continuum and someone gets hurt, or maybe someone is killed, or there's a breaking of the door, seizure of your property. All the time we hear the stories about, well, they took your money because they said that the dog hit on it and it was drug money. Well, money goes through so many different hands. Who knows the different possibilities? But
yeah, we got to reject the asset forfeiture nature of this as well that violates the checks and balances. Ladies and gentlemen, we're flat out of time, but there's two websites where you can learn more and get a hold of Mike Cartwright. Save America from USimmigration.com and Save America from the USCapitolPolice.com are the two websites. You can become a member of the CSPOA posse today. CSPOA.org. Become a member. Would love it. Our greater numbers shall achieve success. We'll never give up. Will you?